If you could change just one item in your home to unlock a steady flow of income, would you even know where to start? Most people don't. They walk past it every day. They clean around it, decorate near it, maybe even think it looks nice. But they never realize that this one ordinary object, placed without intention, is quietly blocking their path to abundance. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't break. But it holds energy. And in Feng Shui, energy is everything. Because energy is how money moves. And if that energy is stuck, scattered, or confused, so is your financial progress. You try harder, you save more, you hustle longer, but nothing ever feels stable. You might even feel like every time you gain a little ground, something slips out from under you. That isn't bad luck, it's an energy leak. And your home might be the very place it begins. Feng Shui isn't about superstition or mysticism. It's about recognizing that your space is a mirror of your life. Your home holds memory, rhythm, and frequency. It either supports your goals or silently resists them. And when it comes to wealth, there are objects that either open the door for prosperity or slam it shut without you realizing. The placement, the emotion it holds, the energy it traps, all of that matters more than we're taught to believe. I've spent over 2 decades walking through homes that looked beautiful on the surface. Modern furniture, clean floors, tasteful decor. But under that surface, the energy was tangled, cluttered, interrupted, and it always showed up in the same ways: delayed payments, career stagnation, surprise bills, endless effort with no reward. What if that pattern could be interrupted? What if, instead of chasing success on the outside, you started by aligning the environment you live in every day? That's what today is about. We'll start by identifying 5 household items that most people don't realize are quietly draining their luck, scattering their energy and making it almost impossible for wealth to stay. These aren't rare things, they're common. They're in your bedroom, under your bed, beside your door. They blend into your life so well you've stopped noticing them, but your energy field hasn't. And once we understand what to remove, I'll show you how to place one specific item, a seemingly simple object, in just the right way to activate flow, magnetism, and energetic welcome. Because money doesn't only follow effort, it follows clarity. It follows openness. It follows spaces that are energetically ready to hold it. And when your home becomes that space, you stop struggling to call abundance in. You simply begin to live in alignment with it. So don't look away. Don't tell yourself this doesn't apply to you. Because sometimes the smallest shift in your home is the beginning of the biggest shift in your life. Part 1. Small items draining your wealth energy. Number 1, too many dolls or stuffed animals. What if something as innocent as a teddy bear is quietly unraveling the balance in your bedroom? Most people wouldn't think twice. These soft, smiling figures often represent comfort, nostalgia, even love. But Feng Shui doesn't just look at objects through the lens of function or appearance. It sees them as carriers of energy, intention, and memory. And in that deeper layer, something curious happens. When a room is filled with too many human-like or animal-shaped objects, especially ones that are unmoving, unattended, or emotionally loaded, it begins to disturb the energetic clarity of the space. The room no longer feels restful, even if it's clean. Your mind doesn't fully settle, even when the lights are off. And the reason why isn't just aesthetic, it's symbolic. Feng Shui views these dolls, plush animals, and figurines as representations of unresolved presences. That doesn't mean anything paranormal or fearful. It simply means they occupy psychological space. They are designed to mimic life, but they do not change, do not grow, do not release energy. They hold it. And when you surround yourself with objects that simulate life, but do not live, your space starts to absorb that same stillness, that same energetic contradiction. You feel like you're surrounded but not supported, decorated but not emotionally clear. It's a subtle weight, and over time it builds. Especially in bedrooms where energy should be warm and grounded, clusters of dolls can create a quiet sense of emotional confusion. You may find yourself more irritable at night, struggling to relax, or simply waking up without truly feeling rested, not realizing your mind never fully disengaged from the emotional noise around you. And here's the deeper truth that often gets overlooked. These objects are not inherently negative, but the way we use them can be. A single cherished plush toy kept with care would be a grounding comfort, but a shelf full of untouched, dusty, forgotten figures becomes a reservoir for stagnant energy, especially when these dolls are gifts, representations of past identities, or tokens from emotional moments long gone. They stop functioning as joy and start becoming energetic leftovers. They sit in your space, but also in your subconscious, whispering stories you don't even remember choosing to keep. Have you ever walked into a room and felt strangely watched, even if no one was there? That's not superstition. It's an intuitive response to energetic density, and the body feels what the mind hasn't yet acknowledged. In modern Feng Shui psychology, we understand that our environment shapes not just behavior, but biology. The more unresolved imagery around you, the more your nervous system stays alert, even if you consciously think you're at rest. And children, especially, are more sensitive to this than adults. They may have difficulty focusing, sleeping, or calming down in rooms overwhelmed by plush characters and toy figurines. What's intended as nurturing becomes overstimulation. The same applies to adults who use decorative stuffed toys as part of their aesthetic. It may feel fun and expressive at first, but if the energy behind those choices isn't revisited, it turns from identity into inertia. That's why a well-designed space isn't about how much you can display, it's about how much clarity you can protect. Let's reverse the lens for a moment. If your goal is peace, rest, and emotional reset, does a room filled with 12 plush figures, 6 unused decorative dolls, and 4 human-like statues actually support that? Or does it crowd out the stillness you're trying to create? A young interior designer I once worked with had a beautifully styled apartment, but she couldn't sleep more than 4 hours a night. Her room was filled with pastel teddy bears, cartoon figurines, and stylized human dolls. She told herself they were harmless, cute even. But once she cleared out 80% of them and kept only one that truly held meaning, her sleep improved within days. Not because of magic, but because she created space. Space for her energy to land. Space for her nervous system to slow down. Space for her room to feel like hers again, not like a museum of frozen emotions. So the real question isn't whether plush toys are good or bad. It's whether they are emotionally current. Are they an intentional part of your energy, or are they just there because they always have been? And if you let go of most of them, would your space breathe better? Would you? Feng Shui doesn't demand you strip your home of personality. It asks whether that personality reflects the version of you that wants to thrive, or the version of you that's afraid to change. When your space becomes too full of faces that never speak, you may unconsciously silence your own clarity. And the cost of that silence is deeper than decor. It's in your ability to feel truly rested, truly grounded, truly safe. So maybe it's time to look again at that shelf, that corner of nostalgia, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Do these things still nourish me, or am I simply used to their presence? Because Feng Shui isn't about rules, it's about resonance. And the more you surround yourself with what no longer resonates, the further you drift from the peace and prosperity you were working so hard to find. Number 2, stones and heavy block-shaped objects. Some stones don't ground you, they trap your fortune beneath them. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? We're taught that stones symbolize strength, stability, and permanence. But in Feng Shui, that symbolism only holds true when the stone is placed with clarity and the energy it holds is clean. Otherwise, what you think is stabilizing your space may actually be anchoring it in the wrong kind of stillness. The kind that doesn't breathe, doesn't move, and doesn't grow. If you've ever walked into a home and felt that subtle heaviness near the entrance or in the corners of a room, that quiet resistance to movement, to flow, to freshness, it's often because something dense is holding too tightly to the energy that should be circulating. Stones, especially decorative ones or block-shaped sculptures, are energetic sponges. They absorb everything they have been near: emotions, events, environments. And unless those energies are intentionally cleansed or the stone is placed with spiritual neutrality, it carries all that memory into your home. That's why origin matters. A beautiful piece of quartz may shimmer in the light, but if it was taken from land marked by trauma, conflict, or grief, it brings with it an echo of that unresolved story. Most people never ask where their decorative stones come from. But energy doesn't care whether you're aware. It moves based on resonance. So if you place something emotionally dense right at your front door, you may be unintentionally creating a barrier right where wealth, opportunity, and peace are supposed to flow in. The front entrance in Feng Shui is more than just a doorway. It's the mouth of Qi, the point where life force enters and begins to move through your space. It needs to feel light, clear, and welcoming. When you place a heavy object at that threshold, even something beautiful like a large rock sculpture or a stone planter, you're interrupting the rhythm. Think of it like a stream of water trying to enter a garden. If you place a boulder at the gate, the water pools, hesitates, or reroutes. That's exactly how wealth energy responds to energetic congestion. It doesn't get angry, it just finds somewhere else to go. And many people who say their homes just feel blocked don't realize it starts right at the door. But let's be fair, stone isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's a powerful element when used wisely. Earth energy represents stability, nourishment, and grounding, all essential for long-term prosperity. The problem is when that energy becomes too dense, too central, or too misplaced. A stone that's meant to anchor a garden ends up smothering a living room. A decorative slab intended for Zen ends up disturbing the emotional temperature of a space. It's not just about the material, it's about the role it's being asked to play. Have you ever considered whether the heavy objects in your home actually support movement or merely stop things from shifting? That question alone can reveal more than most people ever pause to notice. In construction, we use stone for foundations, not for flow. But in living energy systems like homes, that same principle must be adapted. Stone should support, but not dominate. It should ground, but not weigh down. And it must always be placed in balance with elements that restore movement, like wood, water, or wind. So if you do have heavy stones in your space, especially near the entrance, ask yourself this: does this piece help the space breathe? Or does it control the room silently? If the answer feels uncertain, there's your signal. A subtle shift, like moving the stone further out or balancing it with a soft bamboo plant, a wind chime, or a flowing water feature, can completely change how energy circulates. One of the most overlooked truths in Feng Shui is that beauty and balance are not always the same thing. A striking sculpture might draw admiration from visitors, but if it blocks the emotional clarity of the space, what is it really offering? And sometimes the boldest statement a home can make is the energy it silently holds, not the decoration it displays. I once visited a home where the entryway was flanked by two large, expensive marble lions. The homeowner believed they were symbols of protection, but she also confessed she hadn't felt at peace since placing them there. Her business had slowed, unexpected tension kept arising with clients, and she felt oddly fatigued every time she returned home. It wasn't until we removed the lions and replaced them with lighter, symbolic items, simple potted palms, a soft chime, a candle, that her space exhaled. Within weeks, the block she couldn't explain had shifted. So here's the deeper reflection. Is what you're placing in your home creating support or silently suppressing you? Feng Shui isn't about removing all heaviness. It's about ensuring that weight has meaning, that density has purpose, and that every object is placed with awareness of how it affects the greater energetic conversation of your life. Because just like in architecture, where every load-bearing element must be calculated, the energetic architecture of your home also requires balance, breadth, and thoughtful placement. And sometimes the most powerful change you can make is as simple as letting one heavy thing go. Not because it's bad, but because it no longer belongs where your life needs movement most. Number 3, old books, newspapers, and moldy documents. A dusty book you haven't touched in 3 years might be the reason you're still feeling stuck today. It might sound strange at first. How could something as harmless as a book be interfering with your progress? But in the quiet, precise language of Feng Shui, everything in your space speaks. And old books, forgotten papers, and yellow documents carry a very specific kind of message. They tell your environment and your subconscious that you're still holding on to the past. They suggest that knowledge, like energy, has stopped evolving. And when energy stops evolving, it starts decaying. What was once wisdom becomes weight. What once supported your learning becomes a silent resistance to change. You may not see it that way when you glance at that shelf, but your nervous system does. Your home does. And eventually your opportunities do too. In Feng Shui, books belong to the wood element, the element of growth, expansion, upward movement. But wood energy can only rise when it is fresh, alive, and well integrated into your current path. Books that are outdated, moldy, or kept just in case slowly begin to shift from wood to earth, then from earth to stagnant yin. They become symbolic tombs of identities you've already outgrown. Shelves full of books from a former career, unopened magazines from years ago, or piles of faded newspaper clippings all create visual and energetic noise. They cloud your decisions, blur your direction, and send a subtle message to your space. I'm not ready to move forward. I'm still processing where I was. And that hesitation, though unspoken, becomes a part of the energetic signature of your home. The result? A space that reflects a version of you that no longer exists and blocks the version of you that's trying to emerge. Many high performers unknowingly build shrines to their past success through paper, college notes they'll never revisit, project folders from businesses that closed, printed training manuals from industries they've left behind, all kept neatly on a shelf, as if one day it'll all be relevant again. But what happens when your environment is designed to honor who you were instead of who you're becoming? What happens when every time you walk past your bookcase, your subconscious reads it not as inspiration, but as limitation? Not as wisdom, but as obligation? Feng Shui teaches us that every object must earn its place. That's not a harsh standard, it's a compassionate one, because a space full of passive objects becomes a space of passive energy. And passive energy breeds confusion, indecision, and fatigue. It's no coincidence that people with cluttered offices often feel like they're busy but never productive. There's also a physical component that's often overlooked. Paper absorbs moisture, odor, and atmosphere. Over time, it begins to carry the energetic imprint of wherever it's stored. If your documents are shoved into a dark drawer, under a bed, or buried in a closet you rarely open, they become magnets for stagnant chai. That means every time you walk past that space, even without opening it, your body registers the density. Your chest tightens slightly. Your focus shifts. You may not even realize it's happening, but the weight of unprocessed information is still pressing onto our system. And from a Feng Shui perspective, that weight doesn't just stay where it's stored, it spills into your clarity, your finances, your personal drive. A cluttered shelf can lead to a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind often repeats old cycles without knowing how to break them. Let's take this even deeper. In design psychology, we know that people tend to keep objects that reflect unresolved identities. The books from when you were a teacher, even though you are now an entrepreneur. The printed journals from a certification course you no longer align with. The novel you meant to finish writing, but abandoned 5 years ago. These aren't just papers, they're echoes. And the more echoes your space holds, the less room it has for new voice, new rhythm, new direction. So you have to ask yourself, not out of guilt, but out of awareness, why am I still holding this? Is it still mine? Or am I just afraid of what it means to let go? Because Feng Shui isn't about removing everything old. It's about removing everything that no longer holds life, everything that no longer moves your energy forward. Your home is a map of your decisions, and your bookshelf is one of its clearest clues. If you want to understand where you are in your personal evolution, look at what you're still reading, or rather what you've stopped reading but still display. That's where the friction lies. That's where you can trace the silent tension between what you say you want and what your space believes is true. And here's where the shift begins, not with trash bags or labels, but with intention. Start by acknowledging which books truly represent your current curiosity, values, and energy. Which ones feel alive? Which ones inspire movement when you touch them? Keep those close. Arrange them mindfully. Let them breathe. Then look at the rest. The manuals, the textbooks, the clippings. Not with judgment, with honesty. Are they tools or are they relics? Are they supporting your journey? Or are they quietly suggesting that your best thinking is already behind you? I once worked with a client, an accomplished financial strategist, who had an office lined with industry binders, economic journals, and paper-heavy archives from the early 2000s. He was successful, but increasingly frustrated by a lack of innovation in his business. Everything felt repetitive, predictable, flat. When I walked into his workspace, it felt like time had stopped. Not because he wasn't working hard, but because his space had crystallized a version of success that no longer matched the evolving landscape of his field. We removed 70% of the books and replaced them with a small, curated shelf of current ideas, open sketch pads, and a clear desk. Within weeks, his energy shifted. He launched a new offer that reflected his current thinking. He felt more at ease, more present, and surprisingly more creative. The knowledge hadn't disappeared, but the energy had finally begun to flow again. So what is your space still trying to teach you by what you've left untouched? What lessons have already been integrated, but are still being repeated just because the objects remain? That is the question Feng Shui quietly asks. Not what you own, but what you honor. And sometimes the most powerful knowledge is not what you've learned, but what you're finally willing to release. Because when you clear the mental shelf, you clear the energetic one. And that's when life finds the space to then offer something new, something relevant, something fully aligned with who you've become, not just who you were preparing to be. That is when your space evolves from being a library of the past to a studio for the future. And that is when abundance no longer needs to be chased. It simply arrives, because now it knows where to land. Number 4, gifts from people you've cut ties with. Some memories wear perfume and others wear chains. The moment you pick them up, your hand might feel warm, but something inside your chest tightens ever so slightly. You tell yourself it's nothing, just a watch, just a scarf, just a framed photo, quietly tucked behind other things. But deep down, your body knows. Something is off. In Feng Shui, that off feeling isn't just emotion, it's evidence. Evidence that the object in your hand, no matter how beautiful or expensive, no longer belongs in your energy field. Because objects aren't just things, they're emotional imprints. Every item you allow to stay in your space carries a piece of the story it came from. And if that story ended in loss, betrayal, heartbreak, or emotional rupture, then the energy of that moment doesn't disappear just because the person is gone. It stays, it lingers, and it reshapes your present by quietly echoing your past. Gifts from people we've cut ties with are among the most emotionally disruptive items in any home. Not because they're cursed or harmful in a superstitious way, but because they serve as energetic anchors to a relationship that no longer serves your growth. Whether it's an ex-lover, a former best friend, or even a family member you've consciously chosen distance from, the objects left behind become more than souvenirs. They become emotional traps. Every time your eyes land on them, your energy subtly contracts. Sometimes you feel it as a pang. Sometimes it's quieter, a small sigh that never reaches your lips. But the contraction is real, and the space around that object becomes energetically frozen, as if your home itself is holding its breath. Feng Shui understands that every item carries the intention and frequency of the moment it entered your life. A gift given during a time of closeness and love may retain that light, but if the relationship has since soured or collapsed, that same gift becomes distorted. It no longer reflects affection. It reflects contradiction. Your space reads it as confusion. Why is this still here if the bond is broken? That contradiction creates what we call a splintered field, a conflict between what is emotionally true and what is physically present. And conflict is a breeding ground for energetic stagnation. The result is a home that feels heavy, ungrounded, or strangely thin, even when nothing obvious seems wrong. And if you've ever found yourself stuck in old patterns, attracting the same kind of relationships, repeating the same arguments, feeling emotionally unavailable without knowing why, it's worth asking whether something around you is silently reinforcing that script. You might think, but it was a kind gift, or it cost a lot of money, or even, I don't want to seem ungrateful. But Feng Shui isn't about gratitude or resentment. It's about energetic alignment. And no matter how luxurious or well-intentioned a gift was, if it no longer reflects your present emotional integrity, it no longer belongs in the space you call home. Keeping it out of obligation doesn't preserve the bond. It preserves the wound. And it's not just about dramatic relationships either. Even subtle ruptures, like a friend who drifted away or a mentor who left you behind, can leave behind objects charged with unspoken grief. That necklace you loved but stopped wearing. That mug you don't use but keep on display. That book with a note inside you haven't read in years. They sit quietly, but their frequency isn't quiet at all. The human mind is wired to attach meaning to things. That's part of what makes home so sacred. But when meaning becomes tied to unresolved emotion, the object turns from comfort to constraint. You may not consciously think of the person every time you see the item, but your body remembers. Your field remembers. And in Feng Shui, memory held in tension becomes stagnation. Not just emotional, but practical. Stuck income, unclear boundaries, unexplained fatigue. These are not just personal issues, they're environmental responses. And they often begin with something as simple as a bracelet in a drawer or a love letter tucked into a box you never open, but never throw away either. Let's flip the question for a moment. What would happen if your space only contained things that genuinely supported your peace? What if everything you saw, touched, or walked past each day was a reflection of who you are becoming, not who you had to survive? That's not about erasing history. It's about ending energetic contracts that no longer serve you. You don't have to hate the giver. You don't have to justify the departure. All you need is clarity. The kind that says, this object holds a frequency that no longer fits where I'm going. And that clarity creates space for new connections, new warmth, and new energy to emerge. Because when your home is filled with emotional contradictions, there's no room for clean, aligned growth. You're asking life to meet you in the future, but your space is still stuck in the past. I once worked with a woman who kept a vintage handbag her ex-husband gave her, a limited edition, beautifully crafted, stored carefully in its original box. She never used it. Every time she saw it, she felt a pang of tension, but she kept it because of its value. During our session, I asked her a simple question. Does it remind you of love, or of what love failed to become? Her eyes welled up, not from the memory, but from the clarity. She realized she had been holding on to an emotional echo, not a real connection. And from that moment, she understood that no amount of price tag could outweigh the cost of carrying sadness in silence. She let it go, not out of anger, but out of peace, because real value isn't in the object, it's in the energy it creates. This is the subtle wisdom of Feng Shui. It doesn't tell you what to feel. It invites you to listen to how your space feels around you and how you feel within it. And it teaches that emotional clutter is just as heavy, just as disruptive as physical clutter, especially when it's tied to people you have outgrown, especially when the bond is broken, but the symbol still remains. So if something around you feels like a tether, ask whether you're still honoring the connection or just afraid to sever the thread. Not everything gifted to you is meant to stay forever. Some items were meant to carry a moment. Once that moment is over, the object must either evolve with you or gently be released. Your home is not a museum of past emotion. It's a sanctuary for present alignment. And if an object disrupts that alignment, no matter how small, it speaks louder than you think. Not with volume, but with frequency. And it shapes the atmosphere of your daily life. So take a closer look at what's still sitting on your shelves, your nightstands, your jewelry boxes. Not just to organize, but to reflect. Does this still feel like mine? Or does it belong to a version of me or a connection that no longer lives here? Because the most powerful shifts in Feng Shui rarely come from dramatic renovations. They come from these moments of quiet honesty, from choosing not just what stays, but what still supports you. From understanding that peace isn't just something you build, it's something you protect. And sometimes protection means letting go of beauty wrapped in pain, of sentiment wrapped in sorrow, of gifts that no longer give. That's when your home starts to breathe again. That's when you do too. Number 5, garbage left too long and clutter under the bed. If you want abundance, stop sleeping above hidden chaos. That sentence might sound dramatic, but in Feng Shui, few things are more energetically disruptive than what you can't see but continue to live with every single day. What's under your bed isn't just forgotten space, it's unspoken influence. And the longer it's filled with clutter, trash, or emotional leftovers, the more it turns into a silent drain on your well-being, your clarity, and your wealth. Because what lies beneath your resting body is never out of reach from your energy field. You may ignore it consciously, but your nervous system does not. Your chi does not. The space where you sleep should be the most energetically calm, sacred, and supportive part of your entire home. But when it becomes a storage bin for the forgotten, the broken, or the emotionally unresolved, it shifts from sanctuary to stagnation. Feng Shui views the space beneath the bed as an extension of your personal chai reservoir, your energy vault. It's the one area directly aligned with your physical body for hours each night. Every breath, every pulse, every cycle of healing you move through while you sleep is subtly influenced by what's beneath you. And when that space is holding disorganization, dust, trash bags, unused electronics, old clothes, or emotionally charged objects, the body cannot fully rest. You might sleep through the night, but you wake up still tired. You might feel heavy in the morning, anxious for no clear reason, or oddly disconnected from your creativity. That is not random, it's the echo of your environment feeding back into your system. Underbed clutter is one of the most commonly ignored feng shui issues, not because it's hidden, but because it's justified. People say it's practical storage. They say it's temporary. They say no one can see it, so it doesn't matter. But energy doesn't follow visibility. It follows presence. Anything with emotional weight, energetic memory, or physical decay radiates energy, no matter how deeply it's buried. I once worked with a couple who had been trying to conceive for nearly 2 years. No medical explanation could be found. They were healthy, motivated, hopeful, but each month brought more disappointment. During a consultation, I asked about their bedroom. It looked clean, well-arranged, serene. But when we checked under the bed, we found moldy cardboard boxes, expired vitamins, and a few forgotten gift bags from a previous relationship. They had no idea, but their energy field did. After they cleared the space, their sleep improved almost immediately. Within months, they welcomed their first child. That shift didn't come from chance. It came from alignment. Clutter in dark, unvisited corners acts as a sponge for stagnant chi. These are places where movement slows, attention withdraws, and consciousness fades. And that's exactly where decay begins. You may not be able to smell it, you may not see it, but the frequency is there. It dulls the atmosphere of the room. It lowers the vibrational field of your most intimate space. And when that field is compromised, so is everything that depends on it. Emotional restoration, physical healing, intuitive clarity, and the attraction of prosperity. In Feng Shui, the qi around your bed influences not just sleep, but self-worth. When you sleep above disorder, your body remembers that message. You are resting on instability. You are rebuilding your energy while lying on the unresolved. Let's take this further. The type of clutter matters. A bag of outdated tax documents under your bed carries a very different energy than a pair of childhood toys you couldn't throw away. One symbolizes bureaucratic tension, the other, emotional nostalgia. But both speak to unresolved past. Anything under the bed that ties you to stress, guilt, unfinished business, your old identity creates a silent energetic loop that runs night after night. The subconscious does not fully disengage. The mind may sleep, but the soul stays tangled. And if you find yourself waking up with worry, recurring dreams, or decision fatigue, it might not be something in your head. It might be something underneath you, literally. There's a reason Feng Shui traditionally advises leaving the space beneath your bed open, clean, and breathable. It allows qi to circulate. It allows energy to reset. And it supports the natural process of nightly detox that the body, mind, and spirit undergo during sleep. But even if your home layout requires storage under the bed, it's not the end of the world. It just means that whatever is stored must be intentional, clean, and energetically neutral. Fresh linens, well-folded seasonal clothing, or neatly boxed items with calm energy can be acceptable. But chaos cannot be your foundation. And it's not just under the bed. Garbage left too long in hidden corners, closets, cabinets, behind doors has a similar effect. Any part of your home that holds decay becomes a silent block to abundance. Trash isn't just physical waste, it's symbolic. When garbage lingers, it sends a message. I'm not ready to release what no longer serves me. That message gets embedded into your space. And the more it builds, the more it slows the energy of your entire home. If your trash can is constantly full, if there are old food containers tucked into bags you've forgotten, or if expired items are shoved into the back of a cabinet, you are telling your environment and your energy field that waste is welcome. And if waste is welcome, prosperity is cautious. Because in Feng Shui, energy does not like contradiction. It flows where there is openness, cleanliness, and clarity. The key point here isn't cleanliness for appearances, it's energetic hygiene. You could have a spotless home and still feel stuck if the unseen areas are carrying tension. Conversely, a home with imperfect design can still radiate wealth energy if the flow is clean and the hidden spaces are respected. Because what matters most isn't the surface, it's the foundation, what you rest on, what you carry beneath you, what stories your space is still telling while you sleep, while you dream, while you try to move forward. And here's the most often ignored truth. Your future cannot rise when it's built on a bed of the forgotten. If your space is filled with things you no longer want to look at, your energy will mirror that avoidance. You will miss opportunities that require clarity. You will delay decisions that need momentum. You will wonder why change feels so slow, even when you are trying your best. But your space isn't confused. It's simply mirroring what has been left unresolved. Because everything in Feng Shui begins with alignment. Not alignment between colors and fabrics, but alignment between intention and environment, between who you are and what your home affirms every day. And if that alignment is broken, especially in your most private, restorative spaces, then life begins to loop in small, exhausting circles. So ask yourself, not just as a homeowner, but as someone walking through a journey of growth, what have I stored in the shadows? What am I resting on, emotionally and physically, that I've stopped acknowledging? And more importantly, if your bed is a place where your dreams regenerate, what kind of foundation does that dream deserve? Because the question isn't whether clutter exists. Every home has layers. The question is whether that clutter is held in awareness or in denial. Whether it's tended to or buried until it begins to speak in symptoms, in fatigue, in confusion, in blocks you can't name but feel every day. True Feng Shui is never just about the visible. It's about the emotional architecture of space, the way energy flows behind the curtain, under the bed, inside the drawer. It's about creating harmony in the places no one else sees, because those are the places that shape who you are when no one's watching. And that includes the quiet, overlooked zones beneath you. The zones that either support your rest or sabotage your rise. The zones where clarity either flows or suffocates. The zones that carry your weight each night, whether they are light or heavy, known or forgotten, peaceful or pulsing with hidden tension. And if you truly want wealth, peace, and clarity to enter your life with ease, you have to ask what they're walking into when they arrive. Are they met with space, with stillness, with openness? Or are they forced to squeeze themselves into a home already too full of yesterday's weight? That question, more than any design principle or decor trend, will define how your energy moves forward or doesn't. Part 2, 3 items that invite prosperity. Energy number 1, a new scent. What your home smells like reveals what your life breathes in, not just through the nose, but through every quiet part of you that's tuned into atmosphere, mood, and memory. We often talk about energy in terms of sight, cluttered corners, blocked doors, mismatched elements. But scent is the invisible language of energy. You don't always notice it, but it's always shaping how you feel in a space. That first breath you take when walking through your front door, that's not just about comfort, that's about alignment. In Feng Shui, scent is considered one of the fastest ways to shift the emotional temperature of a room, not because it changes the structure, but because it bypasses resistance. It goes straight to the subconscious, unlocking either openness or closure, grounding or anxiety, stagnation or movement. And unlike colors or layouts, scent doesn't ask for attention. It just enters, speaks, and settles into the background, quietly influencing the chai of your life. Coming directly from the previous section, where we explored how clutter beneath you can suffocate your energy, now we move to the air itself, the space between all things. What you breathe in while you sleep, while you eat, while you work, shapes not just your physical state, but your emotional readiness. And the problem is, most people aren't aware their homes even have a scent until something starts to feel heavy. You walk into a room that smells stale, and you suddenly feel unmotivated. You enter a kitchen with faint traces of last night's food, and your appetite shifts, your clarity dips. That's not coincidence. That's environmental response. And it's one of the most subtle yet powerful areas where Feng Shui offers a direct solution. Scent in Feng Shui belongs to the wood element, movement, freshness, new beginnings. When used intentionally, it can invite an energy where it has long been stuck. But when neglected, when the air feels dense or odorless, the home becomes energetically mute. That's why a space can look perfect and still feel hollow. Because if the scent is off, if it's dull, recycled, or emotionally flat, it communicates lack of care, lack of circulation, lack of life. And the energy mirrors that. A home that smells stale will eventually feel emotionally stale. A home that smells alive encourages the body and spirit to participate. Not all scents carry the same energetic weight. Citrus oils like lemon, grapefruit, and orange are known for stimulating clarity, uplifting mood, and promoting openness. Placing citrus near the front door is like telling the universe, this space is fresh, receptive, and ready. In contrast, heavier scents, synthetic air fresheners, overly sweet perfumes, or musty odors from rarely used closets create an emotional fog. They may not be loud, but they interrupt the inner rhythm of presence. They trap energy instead of releasing it. And the longer a home carries those heavy background notes, the more its occupants begin to internalize that heaviness. Tired for no reason, irritable without push, mentally scattered without warning. Feng Shui doesn't require overwhelming aroma. It invites subtle, clean, intentional layers of scent tailored to the function of each space. Lavender or sandalwood in the bedroom supports deep sleep and heart centering. Mint or eucalyptus in the workspace enhances mental clarity and breath. A hint of clove or cinnamon near the kitchen infuses the space with nourishment and security. Even a simple diffuser placed mindfully can serve as an anchor point for emotional resetting. Because every scent, when chosen with care, tells a story to the energy field. It says, this space is not accidental. It is awake. It is cared for. It is aligned with vitality. I remember working with a man who had just moved into a beautifully renovated apartment. Everything from furniture to lighting was impeccable. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the space felt emotionally flat. When I entered, I noticed the air felt sterile, not dirty, but lifeless. He had no scent anchors in his home, no incense, no essential oils, not even fresh herbs. When I asked him what the space smelled like to him, he paused and said, I'm not sure, it kind of smells like nothing. That nothingness was the issue. We introduced citrus and basil into the kitchen, lavender near the bed, and cedarwood in the hallway. Within days, his language changed. He said, I feel like my home has a heartbeat now. That heartbeat wasn't the scent itself, it was the emotional invitation scent created. Because energy doesn't just need to move, it needs to feel welcome where it's moving. So here's the deeper layer to consider. What unspoken message is your home scent carrying right now? Not what it looks like, but what it feels like when you close your eyes and inhale. Does it speak of presence, care, and renewal? Or does it carry silence, stagnation, or forgotten moments? When you walk through your door, does the scent invite you to return to yourself or remind you of something you've left undone? That's where the real shift begins. Not in the bottle, but in the intention behind it. Not in masking the air, but in renewing the atmosphere. And when you begin to shape that atmosphere consciously with emotional clarity and environmental wisdom, you start to create a home that doesn't just shelter you, it awakens you. And when that happens, your path forward doesn't feel like effort. It feels like breathing in something that reminds you of who you truly are and what you're finally ready to become. Number 2, seasonal bedding, especially spring. What if your sheets held emotional memories and you've been sleeping in them night after night without even realizing it? It's easy to focus on the visual elements of a bedroom, the paint, the lighting, the furniture arrangement. But in Feng Shui, the most intimate source of energy in the room is the one closest to your body. Your bedding is more than just fabric. It's the first layer of energy your body absorbs when it's most vulnerable, when it rests, restores, and lets go. And yet, many people use the same bedding for years without pause, without reflection, and without realizing that it's carrying more than just texture. It's carrying stories. Moments of illness, sleepless nights, anxious thoughts, arguments, even grief, all absorbed by the material we lie on, wrap ourselves in, and expect to comfort us. But comfort can't thrive in a field of energetic residue. The body may rest, but the spirit stays unsettled. That disconnection builds slowly until sleep becomes shallow, dreams become restless, and mornings feel more like recovery than renewal. Feng Shui views the bedroom as the heart of personal energy alignment. It's where your body recharges, your emotions regulate, and your unconscious self comes forward. And the bedding, pillows, sheets, duvets, is not just there for softness. It acts as a conduit, a bridge between physical stillness and energetic reset. When bedding is worn, seasonally disconnected, or emotionally stale, it disturbs that bridge. You may feel comfortable for a while, but the long-term effect is a subtle form of energetic stagnation. That's why seasonal bedding matters. It's not about trends or temperature. It's about alignment with nature's rhythm. Spring especially is the season of new life, upward energy, and gentle expansion. If your bedding remains unchanged from winter, heavy, dark, or emotionally saturated, you may find yourself resisting the very growth that spring tries to bring. The act of changing your bedding with the seasons is a ritual of conscious or transition. It's a way of telling your space and yourself that you are ready for something new, that you are no longer lying in the same emotions, thoughts, and patterns that shaped your last chapter. And while most people think of cleaning in terms of dust or debris, Feng Shui reminds us that emotional hygiene is just as essential. That means washing away the tension of a hard winter, releasing the vibration of long nights, and choosing materials that breathe with softness and optimism. Spring tones like soft jade, pale yellow, or warm ivory are not just pleasant. They activate the wood element, supporting vitality, hope, and mental lightness. These colors lift the emotional weight of the room and create a quiet invitation for change to take root. Even flipping your mattress carries energetic significance. It stirs the chi beneath you, disrupts the sediment of old emotions, and rebalances the foundation where your energy rests each night. Most people don't realize how much pressure their bed absorbs over time. Not just physical pressure from the body, but emotional pressure from the mind. Arguments had before sleep, thoughts left unresolved, moments of loneliness or fear, all silently stored in the fibers. That's why spring bedding isn't just new linen. It's a new emotional atmosphere, and the effect is rarely dramatic, but always profound. You begin to feel lighter when you lie down. Your body exerts less effort to relax. Your thoughts feel less crowded. And in that stillness, something important returns: your readiness to receive. I once worked with a teacher who hadn't changed her bedding in over 3 years. She said it felt fine, nothing was torn, and it still fit her room. But she was struggling with fatigue, lack of inspiration, and an ongoing sense of emotional heaviness. When we shifted her room's energy, the final step was replacing her bedding with something spring-aligned. Light sage green, crisp cotton, soft textures. She texted me a week later and said, "It feels like I finally closed a door I didn't know had been open for too long." That's what happens when you align your rest with the season. You stop repeating old stories in your sleep and start dreaming new ones. So ask yourself, what have I been sleeping on, both physically and emotionally? Have I allowed renewal to touch the space where my body rebuilds each night? Or have I simply maintained what's familiar? That question matters more than it seems, because growth begins where rest becomes true restoration. And restoration begins when the energy around your body finally feels fresh enough to carry you forward. Number 3, fresh flowers. Flowers fade, but their energy blossoms long after. That might seem poetic at first, but in Feng Shui, it's also profoundly practical. A flower doesn't just offer beauty, it offers an invitation, a message, a shift. And when placed with intention, even a single bloom has the power to recalibrate the energy of an entire room. Coming out of the softness and sensory depth of seasonal bedding, where we explored the way fabrics carry emotional memories, flowers take that concept further. They don't hold memory, they create momentum. They do not anchor us to the past. They invite us forward, and in that, they are some of the most underestimated tools of Feng Shui. A home with flowers doesn't just look more alive, it feels more alive. It breathes with a different rhythm. It speaks with a quieter, kinder voice. It becomes a space where the chi is no longer heavy or still, but awake, responsive, and lightly flowing in all directions. Fresh flowers belong to the wood element, but they uniquely carry the vibration of living fire as well. They are the rare symbols of both softness and radiance, fragility and strength. Their presence stirs something subtle, something the mind often overlooks, but the heart recognizes immediately. The moment a bloom enters a room, the energy changes, not because the flower forces it, but because it reminds it. It reminds the space that life is happening. Right now, right here, it whispers that beauty exists in impermanence, that growth exists in vulnerability, and that joy doesn't always have to be grand. It can be a single petal bending toward the light. And that reminder, for a home that has forgotten how to move, can be more powerful than any redesign or major purchase. What's often overlooked is that flowers don't have to be elaborate to be energetically impactful. You don't need bouquets or rare arrangements. You don't need a florist's knowledge of varieties. Even a single stem in a clear jar, placed in the right corner with presence and respect, can become a focal point of renewal. The corner of a hallway that always feels dull, the bathroom that struggles to feel refreshed, the nightstand that holds too much mental residue. These are places that benefit not just from change, but from light, color, movement. And flowers, more than almost any object, offer all three at once. They bloom, they shift with the air, they evolve in front of you. And in doing so, they change the rhythm of a room. They turn space from static to breathing. The most powerful aspect of flowers isn't what they are, it's what they do. A flower lifts. It lifts the eye, the mood, the conversation. It lifts the corners of a room that were once emotionally heavy. And that lifting effect is mirrored in your own energy. Have you ever noticed how different you feel in a room with fresh blooms, even if you don't consciously look at them? It's not just psychological, it's energetic. Your field opens slightly, your thoughts slow down, your sense of urgency softens, and your nervous system registers the space as safe, nurtured, and held. That is not a minor shift. That is the foundation for emotional clarity, creativity, and subtle confidence to return. And it starts with a vase, a stem, a pause. There is also deep symbolic importance in choosing the right kind of flowers. Not every flower carries the same vibration. Some stir grief, others stir confidence. Some activate memory, others activate movement. Chrysanthemums, especially yellow or white ones, bring a vibration of wisdom and inner strength. Their symmetrical shape and stable petals symbolize mental clarity and grounded intention. Peonies, with their soft, expanding bloom, bring themes of love, prosperity, and fullness, but only when placed in spaces that are emotionally ready to receive those blessings. Tulips, often linked to spring rebirth, support emotional openness. Even wildflowers, picked on a walk and placed in a small jar, bring the energy of freedom, spontaneity, and emotional authenticity. The flower doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be in harmony with your moment. And that's the core of the Feng Shui philosophy behind flowers. They don't overpower your home, they harmonize with it. They don't declare energy, they guide it. They don't push you into a new state. They remind you of the one that's already trying to return. That's why people often report breakthroughs, emotional clarity, or creative sparks after adding flowers to a room. It's not the flower that creates the shift, it's the release that happens when the room finally reflects the growth the soul has been craving. Let's also acknowledge the opposite energy, artificial flowers, plastic arrangements, or dead flowers that were never removed. These carry no qi. In fact, they block it. A dry flower may seem artistic, but unless it was intentionally preserved as part of a spiritual ritual, it holds the energetic signature of decay. And when left in a room, it often adds to the weight of stillness, rather than uplifting it. Similarly, plastic flowers might look realistic, but they hold no water, no fragrance, no breath. They simulate beauty, but carry no movement. And in Feng Shui, simulation without substance is one of the most dangerous forms of energetic deceit. It tells the space, pretend to be alive, but stay frozen. That message, repeated long enough, begins to show up in life patterns. Efforts that don't yield results. Relationships that look good on paper but feel hollow. Plans that remain forever in draft. If flowers are to be present, they must be alive, or at the very least, respectfully replaced when their cycle ends. There's one more layer that makes fresh flowers powerful: their expiration. You know they won't last, and because of that, they teach presence. They ask you to notice. They ask you to care. They ask you to say yes to this moment, this bloom, this fleeting softness. And every day that you tend to them, change the water, trim the stems, notice the petals, you are practicing attention. And attention is the foundation of energetic clarity, because where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows with intention, life moves forward. So when flowers begin to wilt, it's not a failure, it's a signal. The energy they brought has been offered, expressed, and now it's time to make space for the next phase. Just as your home breathes, so must its energy expressions. And flowers teach that better than any object ever could. So the question becomes, are you making space for beauty that breathes? Or are you decorating with ideas that look good but say nothing? Are you choosing symbols that move or ones that merely sit? And do you understand that in Feng Shui, beauty isn't static, it's relational? The most potent energy tools are often the quietest, the softest, the ones that ask for no attention, but give all of it back once placed with care. That is the gift of flowers. They don't shout, they simply arrive, they do their work, and they teach you how to receive, not just their beauty, but the life that surrounds it. Because in a home that's ready to thrive, even one small bloom can become the first breath of transformation. And the chi will notice, the body will notice, and slowly, so will you. Final, clear space, clear future. There's something quietly powerful about the way a home remembers everything you place inside it, even the things you've stopped noticing. From the stuffed animals that anchor emotional clutter, to the heavy stones at your front door silently blocking your momentum. From the moldy documents gathering dust on forgotten shelves, to the emotionally charged gifts you've long outgrown but never moved. From the garbage under your bed draining your sleep, to the stagnant air that speaks without sound, and even in the faded bed sheets that still carry the stress of last winter. Your space records it all and plays it back to you in the rhythm of your days, in the flow of your energy, in the weight or lightness of your own presence at home. These aren't just decor decisions or overlooked chores. They are unspoken agreements between you and your surroundings. And what many people don't realize is that their homes are not passively holding space. They are actively shaping it. Most households share the same patterns without even realizing it. Accumulating symbols of old versions of themselves, decorating with things that don't match their current emotional reality, using their most intimate spaces as storage rather than sanctuaries. They hold on to expired books that once defined them, gifts that echo loss rather than connection, forgotten clutter that builds in places where the rest should begin. These mistakes don't come from neglect, they come from habit. And habit, left unchecked, becomes energetic architecture. Feng Shui doesn't judge these choices, it interprets them. And what it reveals is simple. The weight you feel in your life is often the weight you've stopped feeling in your home. But what happens when you remove the noise? When you let go of the items that no longer reflect your direction? When you refresh your scent, choose new colors, soften your bedding, introduce flowers not as decor but as breath? What happens is subtle at first. Your home begins to exhale, your energy begins to circulate, and your life, without you forcing it, begins to realign. Because when your environment no longer contradicts your intention, your efforts no longer feel uphill. The tension lessens, the mind clears. The next step becomes obvious. When you remove energy blockers and invite in what aligns with your purpose, your home becomes a silent partner in your success, not a battleground for your survival. It holds you instead of weighing on you. It inspires instead of repeating old stories. And slowly, quietly, it stops being a place you just live in and starts becoming a space that supports the person you are choosing to become. Your space isn't just where you live, it's who you become. If something in this message touched a quiet truth within you, you don't need to start big. You only need to begin gently. Perhaps it's just one shelf, one drawer, one forgotten item, but sometimes clearing one corner is enough to shift the way energy flows through your entire life. Because once your space reflects your clarity, your future can finally find a place to land.